Hey everybody, how you doing? I hope you're well. I'm just going to take one moment to tweet out that I'm officially live. So if you would indulge me for a bit, I'm going to, do just that. My trusty smartphone. Good morning. For those of you who are generally church going like me, this is a bit of an odd time of hour, I understand. And I ask for forgiveness from the Lord for missing church at this time. But the Lord's got my back. And I certainly know he's got yours. At least I hope you believe he does. Yeah. And and I'm writing, excuse me, just tweeting this out. Excuse me while I tweet this out. Live stream, hashtag news, hashtag now. Now, I'm going to guess that some of you aren't subscribers. Word of warning, I recognize those of you who are not, and I encourage you to become subscribers so that you receive, the appropriate positive treatment. Okay. Period. All right. I'm going to say something right off the bat. I just got a text from a friend of mine who said, upon looking at the headline, at least for this, my friend generally is not as occasioned to absorb complex information, but wrote, "It's bad. People have just been scared into not talking about it." Not me. And the reason is simply this. We have to be serious about the maintenance of democracy, regardless of where our investigations and analysis take us. If the candidate that were the benefit of this were Loren Taylor, I would do the same thing. Okay. Because it's not to say, oh, we want a different outcome. It's to make sure that the outcome that happened was just. That's what it's about. But for those people, like, for example, my friend Davey D. Cook, who basically said to me that I'm sour graping, which is wrong. And I've known Davey since 1986. So for him to, put that on social media was more than inappropriate. It was completely baseless. And I would just go a step further, unfriendly. And in all the decades I've known Davey, I've never, not even once, treated him like that. Not once. Okay. So some people feel like they have to be identified with a group more than doing what's right. I am not one of those people. This isn't about anything. One publication thought, oh, Zenny's getting paid for. No. I just laughed. Hey, thanks for using my name. You're wrong, of course. All right. And didn't bother to email back the reporter. I did actually invite that person who reported that to come on my show, but they didn't do that. So, hey, they weren't serious at all. Okay. But this is serious business. This is serious business. And so with that, I'm going to start by reading my prepared text, which is also the text in this video, which is also a blog post on oaklandnewsnowblog.com and 4 other blogs in the Zenny 62 Media blog network. Oakland Mayoral Race ranked choice voting used domain voting systems with 9 security vulnerabilities. The just completed Oakland Mayoral Race featured a close contest between now former Oakland City Council members Sheng Thao, District 4, and Loren Taylor, District 6. Now Mayor-Elect Thao won by just 682 votes because of the use of ranked choice voting and the Dominion voting system's ImageCast X ballot marking device. A Zenny 62 Media incorporated investigation of the use of ranked choice voting and conducted after the identification of what to this blogger appears to be a glitch in the voting transfer that produced the same percentage vote share for each daily run of the ranked choice voting software revealed a possible problem. According to, and I should remove possible, from my text. In fact, I'll do that right now. It's not a possible problem. It is actually a problem. According to the federal government Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency's ICS Advisory ICA 2215401, and you would say at this point, okay, what are you talking about? And what I'm talking about is bango, that document right there. See it? It's from the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency. This is serious business, folks. We're not playing around here. All right. Now I continue. The title is Vulnerabilities Affecting Dominion Voting Systems ImageCast X. And I have a link as well in the text. There are not less than 9 reported potential security problems. And again, I have that word potential. I should take the word potential. They are security problems. There are a lot less than 9 reported security problems listed in the document released on June 3rd of 2022. That was done during the Oakland Mayoral Race campaign cycle. Dominion Voting Systems ImageCast X is the same system used by the Alameda County Registrar of Voters in the just completed November 8th, 2022 election. The same election that saw Sheng Thao become Mayor-Elect of Oakland. The Alameda County Registrar of Voters did not issue any press release or public information via social media pointing to the ImageCast X vulnerabilities problem with the very device it planned to use and eventually used for this election. And meanwhile, Sheng Thao takes a fast media victory lap. Already, Mayor-Elect Thao is embarked on a press tour, which saw her travel to New York City to be on Good Morning America's GMA3 last Friday. Meanwhile, back in Oakland, an active Oakland Public Ethics Commission investigation was launched October 28th, 2022. October 28th of 2022. Sorry about that. And around former Thao City Council Office staffer LeAna Powell's complaint that she was bullied into working on Sheng's campaign for Mayor of Oakland. Sheng's eager to let everyone know she's the next Mayor of Oakland, even before the December 8th certification of the vote. That, even with 9 identified security vulnerabilities in the Dominion Voting Systems ImageCast X ballot marking device. Dominion Voting Systems ImageCast X is used by Alameda County and has 9 security vulnerabilities. Dominion Voting Systems ImageCast X is specifically referred to by the state of California. It is specifically referred to by the state of California. And where I'm going right now is I'm actually going to show you the screen where that's the case. Secretary of State's website. And if I'm allowed to actually port it over here, and I am. There it is. And voila, here it is. Boom. This is, if you excuse the sound effects here, there it is. And if we go to the top of this page, we find Dominion Voting Systems. Okay. I'll get to your question in a moment, Vicki. We'll go here. It says by Shirley-Ann Weber, Dr. Shirley-Ann Weber, our California Secretary of State, Dominion Voting Systems. And it specifically points to, as you can see, Dominion Voting Systems ImageCast X. And I'll continue to read my text from here. But you can see this is the state of California that specifically points to that vote marking device, okay? It is used in the following 40 California counties: Alameda, Butte, Contra Costa, Colusa, Del Norte, El Dorado, Fresno, Glen, Imperial, Inyo, Kern, Kings, Madera, Mariposa, Marin, Mono, Monterey, Napa, Placer, Pomas, Riverside, Sacramento, San Bernardino, San Diego, San Luis Obispo, San Francisco, San Mateo, Santa Barbara, Santa Clara, Santa Cruz, Shasta, Siskiyou, Sonoma, Sutter, Tehama, Tulare, Tulome, Ventura, and Yuba counties. That's pretty much the state of California. It makes it the dominant vote ballot counting device employed in California. In my interview with my friend and ranked choice voting expert Sean Duger, what I will call for as a shorthand, the Dominion device was used in Alameda County's ranked choice voting tabulation process. Duger, a seasoned expert in ranked choice voting, personally expressed confidence in the Dominion device, even though he was not aware that it had been tested and evaluated before use in the just completed November 8th, 2022 election. Point is, he wasn't aware that it had been, and there's no confirmation that it has been tested at all. None. All he had was the faith in the institution. He said so on the video, which I encourage you to watch if you haven't before. But here's the question. Was the Dominion device indeed tested by Alameda County before the 2022 election? The advisory that I showed you wrote that, quote, "This advisory identifies vulnerabilities affecting versions of the Dominion voting system's Democracy Suite ImageCast X, which is an in-person voting system used to allow voters to mark their ballot. The ImageCast X can be configured to allow a voter to produce a paper record or record votes electronically. While these vulnerabilities present risks that should be mitigated as soon as possible," note that, CISA has no evidence that these vulnerabilities have been exploited in any elections. Okay. Now the questions are, first, were the quote present risks prevented before the election of November 8th? And did the Alameda County Registrar of Voters or the California Secretary of State's office know about them? Moreover, did either body bother to check on any warnings in the use of the Dominion voting system's Democracy Suite ImageCast X? As of this writing, there's no evidence that either organization, California Secretary of State or Alameda County Registrar of Voters, was aware of the ICS advisory ICA 22-15401, yet both went ahead and used the device. And I'm waiting for answers to my question. This is all fresh, okay? The ICS advisory warned that an attacker could install an external input device or malicious code in the Dominion device. The ICS advisory that I just mentioned to you reported that after upgrade of the software. So if someone says, "Oh, we upgraded it, so there's no problem." Well, the problem occurred when the upgrade happened. And, you should hope that they're upgrading their software, right? So it's a kind of a damned if you do, damned if you don't situation for them, talking about the registrar. But I continue, all right? Quote, "The ImageCast X may be left in a configuration that could allow an attacker who can attach an external input device to escalate privileges and or install malicious code. Instructions to check for and mitigate this condition are available from Dominion voting systems." So credit Dominion voting for alerting everybody, saying, "Hey, we got a problem here." Okay. So Dominion's did its job. All right. Any jurisdictions, I'm continuing by reading my text, any jurisdictions running ImageCast X, and this is coming from Dominion. Dominion is saying to you as the registrar, any jurisdictions running ImageCast X are encouraged to contact Dominion voting systems to understand the vulnerability status of their specific implementation. The question here is, did the Alameda County Registrar of Voters do just that? Also, the advisory recommends that there are following 13 mitigations be done by organizations like the California Secretary of State and the Alameda County Registrar of Voters and the other counties listed. I didn't list them here for length, but they are listed in the actual advisory, the link of which is provided. But I can read them to you. contact Dominion voting systems. That's the first one. All right. The second was ensure all affected devices are physically protected before, during, and after voting. 3, ensure compliance with chain of custody procedures through the election cycle. 4, ensure that ImageCast X and the election management system are not connected to any external, like internet accessible networks. And then ensure carefully selected protective and detective physical security measures, for example, locks and tamper evident seals, are implemented on all affected devices, including connected devices such as printers and connecting cables. Close any background application windows on each ImageCast X device. Use read-only media to update software or install files onto ImageCast X devices. Use separate unique passcodes for each poll worker card. Ensure all ImageCast X devices are subjected to rigorous pre- and post-election testing. Was there pre-election testing? Okay. Disable the unified tabulator security keys feature on the election management system and ensure new cryptographic keys are used for each election. And then there's another one. As recommended by Dominion voting systems, use the supplemental method to validate hashes on applications, audit log exports and application exports. Then encourage voters to verify the human readable votes on printout. Was that done? Then conduct rigorous post-election tabulations, audits of the human readable portions of physical ballots and paper records to include reviewing ballot chain of custody, to include reviewing ballot chain of custody and conducting voter/ballot reconciliation procedures. These activities are especially crucial to detect attacks where the listed vulnerabilities are exploited, such that a barcode is manipulated to be tabulated inconsistently with the human readable portion of the paper ballot. And then they have an offer a note. Note, if states and jurisdictions so choose, the ImageCast X provides the configuration option to produce ballots that do not print barcodes for tabulation. And in closing of the text, I write this: did the Alameda County Registrar of Voters do those mitigations before the November 8th, 2022 election? That's the questions any 62 Media will put before Tim Dupuy, the Chief Administrative Officer and Registrar of Voters at Alameda County. Stay tuned. And this gets back to your, hi, Vicky, says, why did Taylor concede so fast before checking into everything? That is a very good question that I think Loren needs to really answer himself in full, because he hasn't, to my satisfaction, although my friend has told me that, he just basically didn't see a way out, or words to that effect. But he was too quick to give in. And in so doing, he lost his platform. The time to make a complaint is when you have the platform and you are acknowledged as a candidate. There's nothing wrong with that. And if someone was to threaten him or was threatening him, he should have and still should make that known, because there are far too many people who, in my opinion, were so blessed on having one type of outcome that they didn't want to hear the possibility that, hey, you know what? This thing didn't go quite like it should. At that point, here's what really bothers me. We're all Democrats here. And as I reporting this to you, I'm 2,500 miles away in what some would call a red state, some would call a purple state. And yet the behavior is basically the same among right-wingers here with respect to voting as progressives there back in Oakland. I mean, what the hell is going on here? I mean, do you really want a democracy that works or not? Okay. If you don't want one, you need to be honest that works and say so. You just cough it up right now. All right. And stop the gaming. Stop the, oh, I've got this person, or I know this more of this, and I'm, or like if you're a nonprofit news organization, as if you're not trying to manipulate politics in the vote when you are, which is illegal. And you could be removed of your status and fined in large dollars. All right. And there's one organization that has been doing that. Okay. Zenny 62 Media is a for-profit Delaware C Corp, of which I own 60%. And it's funny that me as owning a for-profit, or most of it, is more open than the nonprofits that I'm dealing with back in Oakland. Okay. Just being real with you. This has gone way too far. There are clear problems here that need to be addressed. For me, for those of you who've seen this for the first time, I was motivated to see that there was a problem when I was looking at the daily runs put out by the county and the registrar of voters. And I noticed that, let's say that you and I are sitting down, Vicky, and counting votes, right? And first day we notice, okay, Alyssa Victory it looks like she's, as we total them up, sending 20% of her votes to Sheng Thao. The next day, it looks like she's sending 80%. All right. Okay, fine. That happens, right? Whatever. The next day, and so, in other words, my point is the percentage is different every day. And then it averages to 59%. But the reality was that every single day that these new counts are done, the percentage was the same. Every single day. As I've said to anyone who wouldn't listen or would, that spells the existence of a machine-like behavior. And so one is right to say, hey, look, how is this happening? Every time I put the question out to people who, it turns out, are non-tech, let's be honest here, okay? I always get the, well, there are a lot of progressive voters. No. You're missing the point. That's not the reason. That's not the issue. The issue isn't that they're progressive voters. It's the math that turned out. It was the output. My point is, and I repeat again for the umpteenth time, if the percentage were different each day of runs, but they averaged, fine. Sheng wins outright. She gets her 682 vote margin. Woohoo, great for her. But that's not what happened. It looked weird, all right? It looked weird. And then weirder still were people telling me not to look at it. I'm thinking, okay, now where am I? What part of the country am I in? California and Oakland starting to look a lot like a red state to me. Wow. I mean, I can't question. I can't look. So you know what I did? I kept looking. Because I'm dealing with people who don't understand that they're in a tech environment. My friend Sean Duger didn't get that the other day. He's saying, well, he's expressing faith literally in dominion that's reserved for the Lord Jesus Christ on a holy day. And yet dominion, the good of it, was warning everyone on the 3rd of June. Think about it. The very day, 3rd of June, that LeAna Powell, who is Sheng Thao's campaign, or not campaign staffer, but city council staffer, that was bullied into working her campaign, was going through her stuff, working for Sheng. Dominion was the focus of the advisory that was issued by the organization that we now know of as the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency. All right. Okay. So all of this was unfolding, and then the coup de grace. The registrar of voters quietly, silently even, announced. No, they didn't announce. Did a change from 3 ranked choice voting selections to 5. and didn't tell anybody why. There was no official statement. So what we had instead, and this is what I really dislike about this whole process, people trying to fill in the blanks rather than asking questions. Well, they did it because of this. Well, show me. Well, it goes way back years. No. Show me why they did it now. And why didn't they go on a public information campaign? Think about it. Think for a second. Tim Dupuis has 2 titles, not one. He is not only the registrar of voters, he is also the chief administrative officer for the county of Alameda. So it's his responsibility to tell us. He didn't. So you got a guy. This is where the situation, folks. You got a guy in there. I happen to personally like Tim, but I don't like how this looks. All right. All right. He's grabbed interviews to me in the past, not this time so much. Doesn't mean I don't like him, but I don't like how this looks. And you should not either. It is important to ask questions for the one objective of getting it right. All right, getting it right. So, Vicky asked me, says, and unfortunately, does this mean Trump was on to something? Yeah, it does. Okay, because lost in the fact that Trump used racism to elevate himself to the White House is the simple fact of the matter is that what happens is that he did that and he shut everybody's brains off. So that even if he happens to say something that's correct, because it comes from him, it's wrong. And it allows people to do a lot of cover up and shenanigans because of that. Oh, because it comes from the left wing, it's okay to do. No, it's not. And the reality, folks, is there are a lot of people who don't work in either wing. There are people who work in the White House who worked for many different presidents of both parties. There are a lot of people who do not care to divide themselves by party. I happen to be a loyal Democrat, but I have Republican friends. I'm not the only one. Ask our vice president. All right. I can go on and on and on. Ask Tony West. I can go on and on and on. All right. That's the reality. The reality also is that we have a highly complex system. And I'm going to give a kind of an out to some people. We have a highly complex technical system that's beyond the ability of people to understand. So, for example, if I say, hey, look, I want to see the algorithm. They send me an output of a run. That's not the algorithm, folks. That's not the software, folks. That's not the device. What you want to see, okay, is you want to see that, hey, Secretary of State saying this is what they use. And then if you find an advisory from the cybersecurity department within the federal government, and they're warning you about Dominion, the same device, you heed it. You heed it. Okay? You heed it. Now, does this mean that we're on to something where we talk about how voting improprieties were done by the GOP? Yes, it does. It certainly does. My point is this, folks. It doesn't matter whether you look left or right. We still have a problem. And we have to work to get it right. It was wrong for Sheng to go out there and say, hey, look, I'm mayor-elect, and then she's got this problem, among others, hanging over her head. Leaders deal with their problems up front. Understand? Leaders deal with their problems up front. They don't hide. There's a lot of hiding here, okay? This is why I watch your show to keep up with what's going on. You always deliver the news truthfully. Keep up the work. Thank you, Dave, and thank you for the 5-bomb. Much appreciated. 5-bomb is a term I got from Pomsey, who's a Las Vegas vlogger. He always uses that term. I thought it was cool. But thank you, Dave. And I don't do this with glee. This is sad because it involves people who actually truly like. I like Sheng. I like Loren. We all should be in the same church, right? And I understand that Sheng is wanting to be mayor. Okay, great. I understand the number of people who want to call themselves progressives, whatever that means, who wanted her as mayor. Okay. But my point is, you don't create these imaginary divisions to achieve your objectives and then not work to clean up those objectives afterward and leave behind messes. This, folks, is a gigantic mess. You hear me? This is a gigantic mess. Because the first question, the first job that anybody should be doing is calling Tim Dupuy and saying, hey, look, did you do these tests? And if so, what were the outcomes? Because December 8th is coming up, right? All right. He says it's possible it was done without Sheng knowing. I don't think she knew anything about this at all. I think Sheng is no, let me say something. Sheng didn't know anything about this. She's the beneficiary of it, of course. And she should want the right count, is what I'm saying. She should say, hey, you know what? It looks like there might be some problems here. In the interest of having everybody come together, let's make sure this turns out right. That's what she should be saying. All right. That's what she should be saying. Okay. Hey, John Marks, how you doing? All right. And Vicky asked this question. Let me read this because I didn't read it properly. Vicky asked, is it possible it was done without Sheng knowing she thinks it's a done deal and she won? Yeah, it is. It is. It certainly is. Okay. I think Sheng approached this with a dramatic level of confidence and ambition that that ultimately got her, it would appear, the objective she wanted. But does that mean she would rubber stamp doing something like this? No. I don't think she would be that. Look, I don't know Sheng that well, but I would pray and hope that she wouldn't be a person that would, sign on to that sort of thing. Because the repercussions are just too negatively dramatic to even want to get involved at all. At all. Okay. So I don't want to even think that's the case at all. All right. Could Sheng lose the election? I don't know what this is going to come about this. I'm not going to crystal ball and say that anything's going to happen. I don't know. All I know is this question of how the registrar handled this needs to be addressed. And I think something we can all agree on, myself, Sean, everyone that's involved, is that the registrar's activities and actions and behavior have not been up to par. And that's on Tim. Okay. That's on Tim. All of this points to him. I don't think this is a matter of pointing to Sheng or Loren or anybody else. This is about Tim. All right. He is, among other things, again, I stress this, he is the county's chief administrative, he's not the CAO, that's Susan Marinici. He is the county's chief information officer, the person that's supposed to put out the press releases. All right. No press release about this. No press release about, hey, this is a firm system. This is great. We're going to have this special demonstration online on Zoom that you all can watch. But I believe they actually had something like that. I'm trying to give him some cover here because I did contact him about this problem early on when I saw the glitch that I was mentioning. And he sent me back a set of numbers that had nothing to do with my request. I said I wanted to see the algorithm. He could have said it was his Dominion vote. He could have went this path. He didn't. And they left me hanging when I asked my questions about, I said, hey, look, this isn't what I'm looking for, and here are the problems. He left me hanging. That was wrong. And some people do that. Well, I'm not going to, as long as I don't give him anything, he can't say anything. Folks, this is the 21st century. This is not the 20th century before the internet. A lot of people don't seem to realize that. Even those folks born at the time of the internet. Just saying. We have to get this right. Okay? We have to get this right. Because the other question again is, why did we go from 3 to 5 this year? Where's the email that talks about that? I don't want to see emails from the past. And this is something I need to ask Dominion. Does that 3 to 5 change impact the very behavior of the software? And if so, how? See, the one thing that I know, and this is a lot of you don't realize, is I spend half my time behind my server, making sure my code is updated, making sure that there are no attacks that I have to fight off. I mean, look, OaklandNewsNowBlog.com has been attacked as many as 45 million times in the 45-day run up to the 2020 election. That's right, 45 million times. That's many, many times a second. All right. Do you know where a good portion of those attacks were coming from in the run up to that election? A point 400 yards from the Kremlin. Okay. That's my life, folks. Some of you are out there, you think that, and you have a tendency to think of what I do in the context of what you do. You're completely wrong. You just don't get it. Okay. Vicky asks, was Sean correct that it can be actually checked when CAS makes info public? That's a good question, Vicky. What he's talking about is the test. He said you can run it yourself, but you can't do a test of the software, all right, because you don't really own the software and know how to test it. But doing outcome of a run of software that might be hinky, that seems crazy to me. The question is, and it's an open question on the table, did the registrar go back and do the mitigations that were mentioned, the pre-election ones? Because some of the mitigations are post. And on that December 8th, what it calls for is a rigorous set of post-election mitigations. All right. But the question is also, did the Alameda County Registrar of Voters do the pre-election mitigations that I described that are listed on the advisory that was sent out by the cybersecurity office and Dominion? Okay. That's the question. Did they do those? And that's, again, the more you think about it, the more outstanding that is. So my point is, we can't just say, oh, we'll wait till December and the run is going to like prove everything is okay. Well, that's not necessarily true, because again, if the run is based on an unadjusted software, it's still a run that's hinky. And if Tim didn't do those adjustments, we got a problem. And as to how to handle that, I think should be the conversation of the county board of supervisors, maybe even the grand jury. It's a serious problem. And I mean the Alameda County grand jury. All right, folks, I'll be back with more. Thank you for your time. Enjoy your Sunday. God bless. And thank you, Dave. Subscribe to Zenny62, bookmark OaklandNewsNowBlog.com. I have to just say this tease just to rib people, you know. I would have loved for someone to have paid for this, but you know what? It takes no payment at all. Zero. Nothing. And the most money that Zenny62 Media Incorporated has made is really from Google. By a lot. See you later, folks.